Well, good morning, everyone. Candy in Italy, but not in Italy yet, but that's okay. Retiring to Italy when the time is going to be here, according to the consulate. So the last video, it took me a little while to do after our meeting at the consulate, and this video has taken me a little while to do as well because we're trying to adjust how we're going to move this process ahead. I unpacked a few things that I had packed to take to Italy. They can stay here for now. I had to go through all the boxes. I had to go through the luggage that we already had packed. So that was a little bit time consuming to pick and choose what you're going to take. We weren't taking much with us anyway, but the things that we were taking are now going to stay. Like I had some Christmas ornaments that we were going to take. Well, we're going to be Christmas in Ponce Inlet now. So those are staying. So just stuff like that, and some of my Bibles and some of my other books. And then Dean had to readjust what, like now he's not going to take his guitar. He's going to leave his guitar here. I think he's decided on one of the smaller drum sets. Maybe the traps might be going with a small cymbal set, or I don't know. So it's just been a whole like redo of everything that we thought we were taking and not taking. So yeah. So that's that. So people have been asking, so how did you decide on Italy? So a few years ago, we actually looked at Nashville. We looked at Georgia. We weren't quite sure where we wanted to be for retirement. So we started early looking, which I feel that is the right thing to do. I mean, everyone has their own, situation. So we started looking probably 3 or 4 years ago where we wanted to be when we retired. So we went to Nashville. We looked around there. We actually looked at houses in Franklin. We looked at houses all around the Nashville area, Hendersonville. So anyway, we kind of figured that their weather wasn't really what we really liked, even though we were like, okay, let's try it. And then after a couple months of really thinking about it, it was a weather issue for us because we're more warm weather people. So anyway, we were thinking of Georgia, but the same thing, it gets cold there in the winter. And then we looked Mexico. We were really looking at Mexico down towards the Baja Peninsula. And then that got off the list after about 3 months of research. And then we started looking at Europe. My husband's pure Portuguese, his family's from the Azores, so he could have his dual citizenship in a minute. We have all the records from Ellis Island and the whole bit. His grandparents both came over to through Ellis Island. Both sets of grandparents. But the problem with the Azores for him is the beaches are mainly cliffs, A, and B, the water is very cold. And then we started looking more towards the Spain-Portugal border. And it was still, researching, it was still a little bit, the water was still too cold. It was a little too cold for him, actually for both of us, but more him. So then we looked at Italy, and everybody tends to go north, like from Rome north or Rome inland, Tuscany, that whole area. So Lake Como, which is beautiful. Cold, snows, not for us. So then we started looking at actually Calabria, and Calabria was a little bit too rural for us, even though now since we've started looking, it's gotten much more built up, for lack of a better word. But yeah, it was just a little bit too rural for us. And to be at the water in Calabria, Calabria is big, so it just didn't work for us. And then we looked at Puglia. Actually, my husband did. So, and again, this is all research that we're doing behind the scenes. We've never been to any of these places except Nashville, of course. And then we looked, he was like, well, maybe Crete. And it was specifically the island of Crete. So we researched that. And then he's like, well, I really don't want to live on an island. And neither did I. So Italy was, Puglia was on our radar. And then I actually started looking in Sicily, and he was a little on board, but then, he's like, oh, there's a volcano on that island? No. So, and it's an island. So then that was knocked off really fast. So Puglia was on our radar, and we were doing, so for us, not only researching online, but YouTube. YouTube has been our best friend as far as like looking at houses. So then we actually looked at Thailand. And we were seriously looking at Thailand. However, we found out, and it might have changed since then, that you cannot basically you can't own it in Thailand unless you're married to it. I don't know, whatever it was. And then my husband's like, the language barrier, even though a lot of them speak English, he's like, the food that, it's stunning. It's, and then he was like, okay, because everywhere has natural disasters. We know that. We're not stupid. We're not naive. But he's like, oh, tsunamis? And so that ended up off the list. And we researched, we looked for, we were looking at all the different houses, we were looking at apartments, so forth and so on. Came full circle back to Puglia. And then once we really decided that Puglia was where we wanted to be, we started looking for property. And YouTube, again, was our best friend. Norton Tanzarella is a real estate company that had this video of this house that we saw in late May of last year. Yes, late May of 2024. So I immediately emailed and I immediately called. I didn't get I got a voicemail, and I didn't get a response from the email. I think it was like 2 or 3 days, something like that. And the response back I got was, we're sorry that house is now under contract. Let us know what you're looking for and we could be of help. So we weren't ready at the time. So we just continued to look, even though we kind of had a time frame in our head. Well, I did when I was going to retire. My husband retired years ago, but he still works. So anyway, then we kept looking. And when you find something or you see something and it's like, that's it. It's kind of like love at first sight. We just compared every single house to that one house that was gone. It was perfect. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, all on one floor, private villa, beautiful metal gate that comes across, land, not a lot of land, not crazy land, but land, established fruit trees, indoor kitchen, outdoor kitchen. The inside is completely perfect. No work to be done other than, landscaping, which is what we love to do. And, some decorating to make it our own. No big deal. And the price was amazing. So every house we looked at, we compared it to. And we even looked at Abruzzo and Molise. And I'm very grateful that God did not make that happen, because it's cold there and it snows. And they actually got a really bad snowstorm this year. So anyway, so this house just keeps popping up on our YouTube feed, because of course we've watched the video of the house a million times. Now, in the interim of this, in September of 2024, I belong to the National Italian American Federation, and I would highly suggest joining that, NAIF. And in their magazine, there's 2 attorneys that at the time were advertised. And one was, they're both real estate, basically, for purchasing real estate and so forth, legal matters. So I looked at the one and something just didn't jive with me. And then I did call the other one. Now, this gentleman, our attorney in Rome, I have to put my glasses on, I'm sorry, I can't read. So I just want to make sure I give you the right information, because he really, if you're buying property in Italy, he is perfect. He has been amazing. So his name is Giampaolo Gerardi, and Giampaolo, I'm sorry if I said your last name wrong. So he owns a company called legalandfiscal.it, legalandfiscal.it. Now, he has a liaison here in Pennsylvania. His name is Michael Eckstein. Now, Michael, absolute love. They both are. I mean, they're both amazing. So Michael's phone number, if you need it, is 267-500-1807. Again, Michael Eckstein, he's Giampaolo's U.S. and Canadian client coordinator. His number is 267-500-1807. So that's who I called. That's the number that I called. Spoke to Michael. And again, this was in September. So Giampaolo was, I think he was gone, or I was at a function. I don't know. He travels a lot on behalf of A, his clients, and B, being an international lawyer. So we set an appointment for October 24th to do a conference call between Dean, myself, Michael Giampaolo, and our financial advisor. So we were all together at our financial advisor's office on this conference call. Now, that's October 24th. On that Friday, that was a Tuesday. So that Friday before that, I can't remember what date it was, I was doing a client and a notification came up on my phone, and I never did this. So I said to my client, I'm like, Jackie, for some reason, I need to see what this notification is. It was our house coming back on the market. I immediately said, hold off. I immediately emailed, texted, and called the real estate agent and said, we want this house. This is our house. This was our house from May that we lost because somebody else bought it. So this all happened on that Monday, October 23rd. They finally got back to us and we set up the whole thing. And so when we set up the 24th meeting, we didn't even know about the house. This was just a preliminary meeting to have him become our power of attorney to do whatever we needed to do in Italy, i.e. open up a bank account, I'll get into that in a minute. So the conference call was originally just like, hey, maybe we'll hire you. And two, okay, this is where we're at. We're buying this house. We need to hire you today. What do we need to do? Our financial advisor was there. Everything was great. So we got off the phone and immediately things went into action. Michael put the email together. The first thing that happens, and again, we bought our property the way we bought our property. We did not think that we could do it ourselves, and we were absolutely right. As far as I'm concerned, we wanted legal representation in Italy. So we had to file documents. Giampaolo had to file documents in Italy for us to become power of attorney. Now, what we had to do was get these apostille seals on these documents. And in the state of Florida, an apostille seal is not a stamp. It's just like a certificate. Well, we got them and we overnighted them to Italy, but Rome didn't accept them because they didn't understand it. So then we literally had to drive to Tallahassee, stay the night, get there when the office opened, get the apostille seals, which were the exact ones that we had already sent, but now we had proof that this is exactly how the state of Florida's apostille seal is. So anyways, that was a glitch. And so he became our power of attorney. Now, once he became our power of attorney, now, in the background, he's going through all the documents from the house. He's making sure that the property is what it says it is. He's finding out why the sale happened, and then it went back up for sale right away, pretty much just a few months later. What's going on? Is there something wrong with the house? And he kept saying, I got a bad feeling. I just want to make sure I'm working for you. And so that's pretty awesome. I mean, he wasn't just like, oh, just send me my retainer and, no, he was like, I need to look at this. I have a bad feeling about this. I need to find out more. And believe me, he did. So he became our power of attorney, which now means that he, of course, is in charge of everything that we're doing over there. So he took care of all of the sale. He took care of all of our transfers. Once we transferred money to him, he took care of all the transfers from him into the real estate company for escrow. He took care of all that. He flew down when we went on closing day. He flew down to do our closing, but before that, he went to our house. He had our agent, our real estate agent. They were there. They did a whole video walkthrough. They called us. We could see the whole place, and of course, it's just the same video that was on YouTube. And so they did the closing. So that was all done. He immediately, because he still had time before he had to catch his flight back to Rome, he immediately went to a bank, the bank in Francavilla that they said to use because it's a small, community bank, which is great. So we opened up our bank account. He took care of all that. He took care of all of our utilities, which we don't have a lot of utilities. You just have gas and electric, basically on one bill. He took care of our taxes. He, property taxes. He took care of everything. Now, keep in mind, of course, we're paying him to do all this. However, this is what he does. It's his wheelhouse. It's not our wheelhouse. There's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube and social media. Oh, these people that moved to Italy and follow my course and follow this course. I'm not saying that they're not good. They probably are. I don't know. My advice is, if you are an American citizen or a citizen of any other country and you're looking to purchase property in Italy, get somebody that's representing you, an attorney that knows real estate. And that's what he does. He does real estate. He does CPA work, taxes and all that, for your Italian taxes. So since the purchase of our house, so then there's this time frame where when you open up your bank account, then it finally goes through, I think it took like a month or two or something like that, where he got notification, and then he could finally do, I don't know. It's a thing. It's an international thing. It's not my expertise, it's his. So we pay him to take care of everything over there for us that we've needed to take care of. Now, we've come to the end of that road right now, because now we're just going to be going there a couple times a year as, not as residents. So, everything that we've needed him to do, he's done. It's been an interesting journey. Pretty straightforward. He pretty much handles everything. The one really great thing that he did, and again, I know that we're paying him, he does represent us, but the notaries in Italy are like up here. It's not like the US where, you pass like a test and, you pay $20 for a notarized letter, da 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 da. No, notaries are like a government official in Italy. They're the ones that say yay or nay. I mean, it's interesting. So he negotiated our notary fees down because of, I don't know, I don't even remember why, but he negotiated that fee, which was, in the thousands. So all in all, I think to date, so the house was 140,000 euro. Our property taxes, the house and the property combined, was $1,000 for a year. Our homeowner's insurance, strap yourself down, don't fall off your chair, don't faint. Homeowners insurance, $500 for 2 years. Did you hear me? $500 for 2 years. Homeowners insurance, full coverage. Like, that's insanity. That's the way it should be. That's actually the way it should be. But that's another story. So I'd say it was $1,500 for for him to become our power of attorney. That was just a straight fee. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe $20,000, $30,000, maybe $25,000 for all of his work, which has been like I have a file this thick of all of the stuff that he's done for us, back and forth with emails from the real estate to him for us, and going, physically going to the consulate in Rome, sitting there waiting for his, name to be called 2 or 3 times, I don't even know, going to the bank, opening up the bank account, going back to the bank afterwards, a couple months later, once some documents were done or whatever, doing all of our, putting everything in our name, all of the utilities, setting all that up with the bank. Last month and the month before, somehow or another, the auto draft didn't happen. Excuse me. So the real estate agent sent him the bill. He took care of all that, and then he just emailed us and said, "This is what's going on." I mean, he is. And remember, we had to pay for him to fly from Rome to Brindisi, and then stay the night and get a rental car, and then from Brindisi back. But listen, he knows what he's doing. That's his wheelhouse. Buying a house in Italy is not the same as buying a house in the US. And we felt comfortable having him, and who is now, from afar become our friend. We text each other all the time. I send him Easter card, and he's a beautiful, Christian man, and he's straight, he's honest. So if you need assistance, I highly suggest getting in touch with Michael Eckstein, who is his Giampaolo's liaison here in the U.S. So that's pretty much how we bought our house. No, we've never been there. No, we've never stepped foot in the house. Our real estate agent, Gregory Daniel, amazing. Just a true love, just a love. He'll text me just pictures of, random stuff in going on in Ostuni or Francavilla. This is what we're doing today, just random stuff. He's just, another one. We've never met, but I know that we're going to be friends. We're already friends. And, he'll be like, "Hey, here's the surf today, going surfing," or whatever. He's just, sent pictures of, there was a bike race through Francavilla. He's gone to the house a bunch of times for us, just because, just checking on things. And this is all no charge. Norton Tanzarella is also, their office is in Ostuni, and they actually are going to have a room at their real estate company. Then they're going to provide their people that have purchased through them English speaking and reading classes, because to get your driver's license after a year of living there, you have to have that, and you have to be able to read, write, and speak Italian fluently at I think it's a B2 level. But yeah, so, because I always say, "Well, how much do you want? How much is the?" And he's like, "No, I got it." And he's like, "When you get here, we'll make sure we'll go around. I'll take you to Leroy Merlin, which is their rendition of basically Lowe's meets off Home Depot meets Home Goods meets it's just like this massive store, and they deliver, which is great." So he's like, "Yeah, no, we'll go to Leroy Merlin. I'll take you around, and we'll set everything up." And he's like, "Okay, let me know when, I'm going to get the internet turned on for you before you get here." And, just they're at Norton Tanzarella, and they're definitely, they got their shit together. They definitely have their shit together. Quality videos, great properties, you know, in all price ranges. So, so this was my video on what led us to Puglia and what led us to the house that we purchased and what led us to the attorney that we have and we still have, who is now not only our legal and professional advisor over there when it comes to property and taxes, but our friend. And Gregory Daniel with Norton Tanzarella, who is just a love. And everybody speaks and reads and understands fluent English, which for us, of course, right now at this point is a godsend. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me anytime, leave a comment. If there's something else you want to learn about our little journey. The next video I'm going to do is going to be on, haven't decided yet. It'll be something to do with retirement and going to Italy and retiring to Italy. And what retirement, the thought process, because people say, oh, you're so young. No, not really. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'm blessed. Please, God has provided everything in my life, and I know that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was long, and I can talk. Have a blessed day. Ciao.